Hey everyone, it's Miss O'Donnell. So we have now learned all of the angles that are going to be on our assessment. So what I want to do today is we're going to go through everything we've learned so far, and you're going to fill in a note sheet that you're then going to use for our practice and for your assessment. All right, so first, way back in the beginning of the standard, we talked about lines and arcs. So here's a list of all the lines and the arcs. Hopefully you remember what they are. I'll go through them quickly. So we have a radius. A radius goes from the center out to a point on the circle. So DF is a radius, DH, and DJ. Then we had a chord. A chord is a line segment, so it has two endpoints. Both of them are on the circle. So a good example of that would be KE. JF is also a chord, but more specifically, JF would be a diameter because diameters are chords that go through the center. So those are all the line segments. Then we talked about lines. So lines have two arrows on the end. A secant crosses the circle two times. So LG is a good example of a secant. It crosses at L and at G. A tangent crosses one time. So line HI is a good example of a tangent and it only crosses at point H. And then one thing we talked about was that tangents are perpendicular to a radius, so HI and DH would form a right angle right here. Then we talked about arcs. So minor arcs are small. They're labeled with 2 letters. Major arcs are big. They're labeled with 3 letters. So that was just the stuff about lines and angles. So now about your notes. So you should have this document attached to the assignment. Looks like this. And I'm going to explain exactly what I expect you to do for this. So first, you should go ahead and write your name, Miss O'Donnell. And then I'm going to go through all 5 angles. I'm going to tell you exactly what to write for your formula, and then we're going to go through examples. So you're going to fill this in as we go. I'll show you a couple examples as we do it. Just make sure you have this open while you're watching the video. You can pause the video whenever you want, whenever you got to add notes. All right, so first we learned central angles. So central angles were equal to the arc. So now would be a great time to go to your notes, central angle. Angle equals arc. There's my formula. The angle equals the arc. So what that means is if EF is my arc, angle EAF creates that arc, which means angle EAF is also 50 degrees. All right, so EAF is 50 degrees. So what you would do in your notes, EAF 50 degrees. So that's what you're going to do for each one. I'm going to tell you the formula. I'm going to go through the example and tell you the answer. You're going to fill that into your sheet, and that's what I'm going to be grading today. So far for central angle, you should have written angle equals arc, angle EAF equals 50. You can also add additional notes to help you out. So I'm going to go over some extra stuff. You could write it in the formula. You could write it down here at the bottom. Anything that's going to help you because you can use this on your test and on your practice. All right. So the other big takeaways for central angles were that you want to use these 3 tips to solve for all the extra missing angles and arcs. So you want to look for diameters. So if I wanted to solve for arc FB, I would use FC as a diameter, which means that these 2 angles over here have to add up to 180. So that means FB would be 180 minus 140. You could also use vertical angles. So if FB is 40, across from it is also 40. Then you can add up all your arcs, subtract it from 360 to solve for the last one. So that's central angles. If you're still confused about this, go back in Google Classroom, look for when we did the lesson on central angles and rewatch that video. You can also pull up your old exit tickets and go through them and practice a little bit more. I will be giving you a quizzes on Monday. So this is more just like remembering everything, and we'll do a lot more practice next week. All right, so then we talked about inscribed angles. Inscribed angles now aren't located at the center, they're located off on the side. So angle C is an inscribed angle A is an inscribed angle, and angle B is an inscribed angle. And inscribed angles are half the arc. So again, you want to go to your notes. Inscribed angles equals half the arc. So now we're going to try to solve for all the missing angles and arcs. What we know is if angle C is an inscribed angle, the arc it creates, so you'll see C goes out to A and C goes to B, so angle C creates arc AB. In order to find the arc, we're going to multiply the angle by 2, so 35 times 2. If we wanted to solve for angle B, right, angle B creates this arc, arc AC, and the angle is half the arc, so what's half of 150? 150 divided by 2 is 75. Right, then we can use our triangle to solve for our other missing angle, which helps us solve for our other missing arc. Remember, if you don't remember this, go back to the lesson when we did inscribed angles, rewatch that video, relook at your exit ticket. All right, we got to remember that triangles add up to 180, and it's really important that you know which angle matches with which arc. Angle C matches with this arc. Angle B matches with this arc. Angle A matches with this arc. All right, so I'm not going to do any more notes for you, so you're going to have to do these on your own. So intersecting chords. So go to your notes, make sure you add your formula. Angle equals arc 1 plus arc 2 divided by 2, which means we add our two arcs. We're going to add 30 plus 80 and divide by 2. So add your two arcs, divide by 2, we get 30 plus 80 is 110, divided by 2 is 55. So make sure you add that example also to your notes. Then we did secant, secant. So now our angle is outside our circle. It's over here. And this formula was big arc minus small arc divided by 2. So our last one we were adding, this one we're subtracting. Go ahead and add your formula to your note sheet. To solve for it, we want to do 160 minus 40 divided by 2. 160 minus 40 is 120, divided by 2 is 60 degrees. So our angle there is going to be 60 degrees. And then the last one we learned was circumscribed angles. Remember, these are made from two tangents. They use the same formula as secant, secant, big arc minus small arc divided by 2. So one thing you want to notice here is I have my big arc is 230, but I don't know what my small arc is. The trick with circumscribed angles is that our two arcs add up to a full circle. So to find our small arc, we want to do 360, because that's a whole circle, minus 230. So we know that our missing arc is going to be 130 degrees. Then we plug it into our formula. 230 minus 130 divided by 2 is 100 divided by 2, which is 50. And then I showed you a shortcut. So the shortcut was that the small arc was supplementary to the angle. Supplementary means that these two add up to 180. So once you found your small arc, if you didn't want to use your formula, you could have just done 180 minus 130. You also would have got that your angle was 50. So make sure you added the formula and this example to your note sheet. You should now have that whole sheet filled in. You have all 5 formulas, all 5 examples. If you missed one, rewind this video. I went over all of them. I gave you all of your formulas. When you're done, right, so you're going to go back to your note sheet. This whole thing should be filled in. So fill in your formula, your answer for X, formula, answer for X, formula, answer for X. Write down any other notes that you want. And then go back to your assignment on Google Classroom and make sure you turn it in to me so that I can see it. All right, so if there's any of those 5 that you don't feel good about, go back to the lesson and rewatch the video. You can send me an email. I would love to. I can send you the emails directly. I can send you extra practice if you want. You can also join me for office hours. So today, your only assignment was to fill in the note sheet. Monday, we're going to do a quizzes practice, practicing all of our angles. And then Tuesday is going to be your assessment. So let me know if you have any questions. Hope you guys have a really great day. Don't forget to turn in your assignment to me so that I can see it.